afternoon, good morning, good evening, everybody. It is Monday, October 13th, and you know what that means. It is time for the High Risk Wrestling Recap. I am your host, Jeremy Parrish. Check out the socials, Charismatic Creations on Facebook and YouTube, Charismatic_Creations52 on Instagram, and of course, 215 on Twitter. And without further ado, let's get into the news. Well, we got some news on Hikaru Shida. Her AEW absence is explained. She re-upped her contract. 2, she has some visa issues. And 3, she just does stuff in Japan, like plays. And people forget she's an actress as well. So the ace of the women's division will be back. She's not going anywhere anytime soon. Some shocking news. Santos Escobar, after not re-signing with the WWE if they didn't renew his contract, leaving, re-signed. They offered him more money, and apparently his release, him not re-signing, messed up some plans for Triple H, because apparently he was supposed to be the mega champion to defeat El Hijo del Vikingo, and now he's back with the WWE. They gave him more money. Let's see what transpires here. And the reaction backstage was that he could pop up in New York Comic-Con and stuff happened. So you figured they want as many stars as possible, especially with the purchase of AAA. Kofi and Xavier Woods, they have both re-signed with the WWE. It wasn't just Kofi. Over on SmackDown, the WWE are making some internal changes to the creative team and some other things. Road Dogg is still staying the head of the writers, but SmackDown just hasn't been good for a good long while. Big E has said that his wrestling career is quote unquote behind him after his neck injury. It's not an official retirement. It just looks like he's not just getting back in the ring. So never say never on the TNA side of things. They have a bunch of contracts coming up. The Inspirations contracts are almost up, but they are very much expected to re-sign. There are about a dozen other people who we expect to either not re-up or re-up, so we just got to wait and see how the roster looks going into 2026. On the independent side of things for the WWE and WWE ID, there have been close to a dozen releases or cuts or non-contract renewals, or people saying that they won't re-sign with the WWE, and looks like WID is probably dead. Now they do have like 130 people in development, but the names that are departing WWE, one of the major ones is Kylie Rae. She did just announce her pregnancy, but her career is just weird because she should be a star in some company, and it didn't work out with WWE, so I don't know what's next for Kylie Rae. Another big name is Zeta Steele. She was very, very popular on the indie scene. Then we have Zara was a car who was an up-and-comer. And look, the main thing with these signings were for WWE were to stop them from signing with AEW. That's the reason. Zeta Steele, Zara Zakar, Kylie Rae should all be in AEW at this point. Stevie Turner, she's gone. Another person that they have big faith in. Hayes Jameson, BJ Ray, Summer Sorrell, Jen Tala, and she spoke about her release like she's thankful. And she's just ready to move on. We have another release in Draco Knox. Lance Anoa'i, a member of the Bloodline family tree. Very, very shocking on that one. And probably the biggest shocker of them all is Wes Lee. Now, the writing was kind of on the wall when he just appeared. They clearly pushed Javon Evans, but why? I wholeheartedly expect Wes to make his way back to TNA at some point to reform the Rascals, but he's got to earn his way back. And apparently Ridge Holland, who is out with injury, says WWE will be not renewing his contract on November 4th. Now, the WWE has reassured the ID program will continue, and they have extended some contracts, and it's just tough. And now they're saying that the reason behind these cuts are because people aren't progressing or not showing any involvement or growth. That's on you. You didn't have to sign all of these people. Kiera Hogan has confirmed her AEW exit, so we will see who next with one of the baddies. I kind of expect her to go to TNA as well. And Ash by Elegance has indicated that she is retiring after relinquishing the Knockouts Championship. We don't know why she retired. It's definitely a health issue, but we will respect her privacy. TNA has announced the date and location for their Genesis pay-per-view, which will be going down in Dallas, Texas. Yeah, Dallas, Texas. What's the date? Guess we don't have a date. They did announce it, but oh well. But Genesis will be going down in Dallas, Texas. On the injury side of things, Taz will be taking time off. He will be having, I believe, double shoulder surgery. That's crazy. Kota Ibushi broke his femur during collision. He will be out for probably the better part of a year. Sounds like JC Jane may have suffered a leg injury at an NXT house show. And Ridge Holland gave us an update on his injury. He is, the foot is recovering. He's doing well, but obviously things don't work out in his favor as he has been let go by the one contract will not be renewed by the WWE. But that's the news, and we shall be right back with the weekend review. Right, you know how we do with the week in review. We always start off with Monday Night Raw. This is the Crown Jewel Go Home show. We start off with, well, one of the show gets fist, but we start off with Roman and Bronson having a confrontation, acknowledge Roman, yada yada yada, same old Heyman challenges Roman to a street fight, an Australian street fight to be exact. There's no difference from a regular street fight. It's not like having a street fight in Philly or New York or Chicago. Roman agrees, calls Bronson a bitch in a fight. Asuka and Kairi are backstage, and Asuka slaps Kairi, demanding that she teach Io some respect. And the match is confirmed for later in the evening. We get Maxine Dupree versus Becky Lynch in a fun match. Maxine showed a lot of heart, but was, sloppy execution. She's still learning. Becky dominated, but her overconfidence and taunting cost her as she was counted out, and Maxine got a W. The Roman and Usos are backstage. There's tension, obviously, between Jay and Roman because Roman's telling Jay to handle his business, and Roman also tells Jimmy, like, yo, I see everything and I know everything. Lyra versus Roxanne Perez ends with Roxanne getting the win via the Pop Rocks after distractions from both Bayley and Raquel Rodriguez. We get a video package for Cena versus AJ. And then AJ is backstage confronting the Judgment Day, and he challenges Finn, Dom, and JD to a 6-man tag match and teases his surprise partner. Bayley and Lyra at the behest of Bayley and Lyra at the behest of Lyra attacked. Bayley and Lyra at the behest of Bayley attacked Raquel backstage after the match, and chaos broke out. Pierce was frustrated with the constant interruptions throughout his show. CM Punk was in the ring trying to cut a promo before he was interrupted by LA Knight, and then the Usos. Punk celebrating, the return of AJ Lee. Knight insulted Punk's reign. Jay's like, I'm going to get my rematch, and the fight breaks out. Ends with a tag team match set for later in the evening. Io claims that Asuka isn't family anymore. Then we get Io versus Kairi Sane with some emotional hesitation from Kairi on her part, but Asuka interference helped Kairi get the win over Io Sky. Backstage, Becky, Seth, and Paul are all backstage, and she's furious. And Seth confided to Heyman like, yo, what happens if I lose? And Heyman's trying to pump up Seth, and Seth's like, nah, what happens if I lose? And Heyman tells him like it is, like, you lose the locker room, you lose Bronson, you lose Braun. And Seth's like, well, what about you? It's going to make me wonder why I chose you over Roman Reigns. All right, Roman and Usos are backstage, and Reigns is again trying to do his manipulation. Remember, everybody, he never apologized. He is still a heel, and he tells Jimmy that Jay winning the world championship made him more like me and less like you. AJ Penta Dragon Lee defeated the Judgment Day in a fun little match. After the match, Styles hyped his match with Cena and says one more time he gets to beat up John Cena. Backstage, Punk and Knight agreed to coexist, and Knight warned Punk, don't get pinned. All right, so CM Punk versus LA Knight in our main event. It was this fine match. Now, mind you, I always believe that singles wrestlers coming together as a team should never be able to beat a tag team, a bona fide tag team. You get no more bona fide than the Usos. But ultimately, the miscommunication between Jimmy and Jay allowed Punk and Knight to get the win after Punk hit the GTS. Knight tagged himself in and stole the win. Over on Dynamite, the show gets the fist. This was the homecoming, and we open up with Joe and Hangman, and Joe explains himself, right? So Hangman reflected on the history, saying he owes Joe respect for the past so, but he would now let him take the championship from him at Wrestle Dream. And Joe's like, listen, you're a pretender who's propped up by others, and I promise to choke you out. And Hangman's like, why is everybody always calling me pretender and a fake champion when I prove myself time and time again? So, look, they sold me on this match with this conversation right here. We're backstage with the conglomeration, being interviewed by Miss Alicia Atoot. And it was to hype up the Cal versus Cal match. Still don't know if Roddy's a part of the group or not, but we'll see what happens there. Our first match of the evening was Jon Moxley versus Tomohiro Ishii, and these two dudes know what to do. They know how to have a great match. This was a brutal, hard-hitting slugfest. Marina interfered, but Moxley eventually choked out Ishii. Ishii was bleeding, but Mox was just a little too much. Mox is getting some momentum ahead of his I Quit match at WrestleMania. Backstage, the Young Bucks are demanding a money match from Tony Khan because they broke. And Matt reveals that he sold some sneakers to get front row seats. They weren't front row. This was really, really funny. We had a vignette for Chris and Tony hyping their stats, their highlights, and setting up their Collision Trios match. The Demand versus the Hurt Syndicate in their street fight ultimately ends with the Hurt Syndicate winning. It was a fine match. I've seen better from them, but it was still one of the better matches of the week. We got the Don Callis family, who mocked Kyle O'Reilly, predicted victory for Takeshita and Okada later in the evening. The Jurassic Wrestler return. We have Jungle Jack Perry. They won a squash match. After the match, the Young Bucks, who were in the crowd, attacked, hit a BTE trigger and a Meltzer driver. I think it's still a Meltzer driver now. And the Challenge Jurassic Wrestler, $500,000 money match at Wrestle Dream, and that match was made official. Backstage, the Death Riders cut a promo. Pac, Garcia, Yota, Claudia Schiffer all talked about cutting the weak links to continue to win. Even though Mox lost the championship, they are still a threat because that's how you present a dominant faction. We had Kyle Fletcher versus Kyle O'Reilly for the TNT championship. This was half serious and technical fair, and then half comedy. It was still a fun, competitive, technical match. Kyle Fletcher won with the back-to-back brain busters. After the match, Archer and Romero attacked until Mark Briscoe and Roderick Strong made the same. Tony Khan booked Fletcher versus Briscoe for the TNT title at Wrestle Dream. That's going to be fun. Next up, we had our open challenge from Mercedes Moné, putting the TBS Championship on the line. It was answered by none other than Lacey Lane, the former Katana Chance? Caden Carter of WWE. She showed up in Ring of Honor, so she's local. It was a solid match. She was never in doubt to win the match, but it was fine. I just hate that this was the only women's match on the show when it was an extra large show, and this match only went 10 minutes. It's time the fans start calling Tony Khan out for this. Backstage, Sammy Guevara bragged about the Beast Muertos and had laid a challenge down for Eddie Kingston for them on Collision. Okada and Takeshita took on Brodido in a double Jeopardy Eliminator match, meaning if Okada and Takeshita won, they would get a tag team title match at Wrestle Dream, and if either Brody King or Bandito got the pin for their team, they would get the International Championship, Unified Championship match against Okada. And obviously Okada and Takeshita won the match. This is going to be a fine tag team match at Wrestle Dream. Backstage, Jet Speed and Willow Nightingale were being interviewed, and they promoted their trios match against FTR and Mega Bang, who are now the top gods. FTR, Stokely, Megan, and Penelope for backstage. Brodido were like, yo, Brody's like, listen, don't let the injury affect us. Look, we lost. This happens. We're going to retain these titles at Wrestle Dream. Main event was Orange Cassidy and Pac going at it again, because these two dudes make magic together. This was a fun match. Orange Cassidy ultimately got the win with the roll up after the match. Darby Allin attacked Pac and was about to light the rest of the Death Riders on fire with a Molotov cocktail until security tackled him. I don't know what these two dudes are going to do to each other at Wrestle Dream. We had Impact. It was our Bound for Glory go home show. This show gets a fist. It might even get a thumbs down. It only had 3 matches on the show. Opening contest was Matt Cardona versus Ryan Nemeth. Cardona ultimately won, and it was fine. He got distracted. Ryan Nemeth got distracted, allowing Cardano to hit the radio. Silence backstage. The Rascals, Trey, Zach, and Myron. They accused Trey of super kicking him, and Trey's like, allegedly, so I hope we don't split the Rascals up. Jeez. Wins plays the footage, and Trey apologizes, and Wins forgives him because, they boys now go light one up. They decide to talk to Santino about getting the match at Bound for Glory. We got a Mara Sade video package, just hyping her up and her inspirations for the Dreamer, Storm, I think Lance Storm, and Jazz, and her goals to inspire young girls. Second match of the evening was Mustafa Ali versus JDC. Ali ultimately gets the win. This is setting up the Hardcore War match at Bound for Glory. This is to come out with weapons to fight of Order 4. We got the TNA injury report. Team 3D, Marsha Day, and the Inspiration are all clear. Elijah is still out. We got our contract signing between Indy Hartwell and Kalani Jordan. The personal concierge invokes the Elegance rematch clause for Bound for Glory, so we'll get them versus Inspiration for the tag team championships. Indy Kalani exchange nice words, blah blah blah, sign the contract, whatever. And we got a video package for the Hardys and Team 3D and the one final table match. Leon Slater cut an in-ring promo, reflects on his rise to TNA and becoming the youngest X Division champion. Says that Bound for Glory is about proving he belongs, and he will be the one to defeat Javon Evans. We got a rundown of the Bound for Glory card, and then our final match of the evening, which was just 3 matches. This is a weak go-home show. It was Eric Young versus Joe Hendry in a no DQ match. Ultimately, Eric Young won after hitting a power driver onto some chairs. Like, Joe Hendry's clearly on his way out of the company. And last, we end with a video package between Santana and Trick Williams. And more so to hype up Santana, and Conan offers Santana, so yo, you focus, you ready, and you're gonna beat Trick over on SmackDown. This was the Crown Jewel go home show. We opened up with Cody Rhodes saying Cody Rhodes things. You've seen one Cody Rhodes in-ring promo. You've seen them all. He discusses Seth's doom and gloom perspective. Says Heyman made him realize what's really at stake. He mentions everybody: Roman, Rhea, Jay, Punk, blah 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 blah. Whatever. Cody ends by declaring that Seth is the wrestler. That he is the wrestler Seth can't beat. Backstage, we got Chelsea Green, Stephanie Vicaire, and Tiffany Stratton. Green invites Stephanie to join the Secret Harvest, which she declines. Tiffany approaches, and they agree to stay on the same page for the tag match. Backstage, Cody Rhodes and Jacob Fatu. Fatu tells Jacob that when he's done with Seth, he got next. Yada, I mean. All this compliments Fatu, and then Drew McIntyre attacked him. First match of the evening, finally, was Sami Zayn in his open challenge, was answered by Shinsuke Nakamura coming out to his OG music. He's just back being a face again. It was a good match. Remember the magic that these two made in NXT. For those of you that don't know, in Nakamura's debut match in NXT, he faced Sami Zayn, and they did not practice that match. They called it in the ring, and it's a beautiful, wonderful match. Go check it out. But back to the U.S. Championship match, ended in no contest after MFTs appeared in black and white face paints and took everybody out. Backstage, all this was with Drew until Jacob attacked him. So listen, Drew just be getting into it with people. Tiffany and Stephanie Vicaire defeated Julia and Kiana James, because why would Julia and Kiana James ever win matches? Why would Julia, the United States champion, ever win a fucking match or be used properly? God. Backstage, Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss were confronted by Zaruka, and Charlotte was going to step into the spot. This is stupid. It's just stupid. Just have the tag team title match and get it over with. I'm tired of Charlotte and Alexa Bliss talking down to these two. Also, you were in Australia, and all you could do was put Zarya on TV and not have her be in a match. That is so stupid. Have the tag team title match on Crown Jewel. Then we had the YS6 defend the tag team championship against the Street Profits in a solid match, but the Wyatts ultimately won. Then the lights went out. and the MFTs showed up and stood face to face, toe to toe with the Wyatt. So it looks like that's where we're progressing next. This could be the men's War Games match. Question is, who would join? They usually do 5-on-5 because you have Solo, you have Mateo, Tama Tonga, Tongalo, and Tala Tonga. Bullet Club War Dogs. So that's 5, and there's only 4 men in the Wyatt 6, unless you're not gonna put Nikki in the match. So maybe John Cena joins the match. Who knows? Backstage, The Miz is being interviewed, and he explains turning on Mello. It's like, listen, he disrespected me. He disrespected the mentorship, and he tried to take the spotlight from me. I am the spotlight. Mello, you miss. He also says, Kathy Whitey, wish me a happy birthday. Our final match of the evening was a last man standing match, Damian Priest versus Aleister Black, and ultimately, this was a fine match. Priest dominated this match. Like, he pretty much whooped Aleister Black's ass and was about to give him a a Razor's Edge off of the stage, and they were in the crowd off like the barrier or something, and Zelina Vega came in. If you don't know, Zelina and Aleister Black are married, asking her friend Damian Priest not to kill her husband, and that delay helped Aleister Black to turn the tide because he hit Damian Priest with a fireball, gave him a black man through some tables. 1, 2, 3, it is over. Aleister Black wins. Over on Collision, like I said, the homecoming show. The show gets officially opened up with Kota Ibushi versus Josh Alexander. And this would be a dream match to a lot of people, but ultimately it was cut short. Alexander won by a countout after Ibushi got hurt. This match went 14 minutes up until that point. They had to pivot, and Don Callis floats on the mic until Mark Davis returns to attack Ibushi, but Kenny Omega made the save for his boy. So Mark Davis is back, so we're now just waiting on Wardlow and Brian Cage. I think that's it for the Don Callis family. Next match was Brian Keith and Big Bill taking on not the Acclaim, Max Caster and Anthony Bowens. Ultimately, not the Acclaim won the match after Bowens got the win with the Molly Wop. Backstage, the Bang Bang argued with Keith and Big Bill after that match. So, okay. Revving up the tag team division. AEW's OG women's tag team, Anna Jay, Tay Mello, Tay J got the win in a squash match over Dream Girl Ellie and Carolina Cruz. Basically, the conglomeration reassured fans that they're fine without Mark Briscoe. That he's not part of the group anymore. Mark Briscoe, it's his group. But he's got to go on and do his thing, and we'll close the segment with the Briscoe's trademark send-off, earning laughs from everybody. The Demand versus Herson, we got a video package, so they will be running it back at Wrestle Dream in another trios match. We got a recap with the Darby Allin Molotov cocktail incident. Mark and what's his name? Nigel McGuinness is like, well, they've lost the plot here, and then we get more video of Allin and Moxley fighting at New York Comic Con. We had Tony Storm, Chris Stanley, and Harley Cameron teaming up to take on the Triangle of Madness, and this was a really, really fun match. I wish it got longer than a little over 11 minutes. But ultimately, the Triangle of Madness won after Thekla speared Harley Cameron for the win because obviously Chris and Tony weren't going to take the pin. Backstage, Kenny Omega's with Jack Perry. He blames Don Callis for Ibushi's injury, and Perry offers his help. Omega is skeptical. It's like, bro, we have beef. And Perry says he can prove himself on Dynamite, so we got that tag team match going down. Backstage, Chris, Harley, and Cameron. Chris, Harley, and Tony. Cameron jokes about being a tag team orphan. She can't find a partner. Mercedes said no. Chris is like, I gotta focus on the championship. And Tony comes to step up to Chris, and Wheeler interrupts, telling, this is what Chris Statlander does. So Harley's got to find ourselves a tag team partner. MX MTV had an open challenge in their comedy segment. They lost to La Faction Internable, losing to Roosh and Drilistico. The other member of LFI, Beast Muertos, took on Eddie Kingston. Eddie got the win after the spinning back fist. After the match, backstage, the Triangle of Madness were attacked by Jamie Hayter and Queen Aminata. So we are really moving forward, getting things going for the Blood and Guts match. I am very, very excited for it. It's going down next month. Shibata returns and calls out LFI for a trios. Not LFI, calls out the Ops for a trios championship match. So we'll see what goes down on Dynamite. FTR and Mega Bane in the main event. The Top Guys defeated Jet Speed and Willow Nightingale. This was a great, fun match. Willow was the star as usual, fighting the men. So this was a intergender tag team match. This was a mixed tag team match, which means men can fight men, women can fight women, and Mega Bane and Willow Nightingale were very much not afraid to fight them, and they got their licks in. They definitely put in some work, but ultimately, with some distraction from Stokely Hathaway, a Doomsday device was hit on Megan Harley hit on Willow Nightingale for the Top Guys to get the win. After the match, Harley Cameron made the save, so it looks like she has herself a tag team partner in Willow Nightingale. Our matches of the week, and ladies and gentlemen, there are a lot. This was a strong week, not necessarily from the WWE, but it was still a strong week. From NXT, Ethan Page versus Mustafa Ali for the NXT North American Championship. From Dynamite, Jon Moxley versus Ishii, the Hurt Syndicate versus the Man in the Street Fight, Fletcher versus Fletcher for the TNT Championship, Okada and Takeshita versus Brodido in the Double Jeopardy match, and Orange Cassidy versus Pac. So yeah, great stuff from there on SmackDown. Aleister Black, Damian Priest in that last man standing match from Crown Jewel. Of course, Cena and AJ Styles from Bound for Glory. Pretty much the only good match on the evening. Not only good match, but the best match on the evening. Leon Slater, Javon Evans for the X Division Championship. And from King of Pro Wrestling New Japan's event, Syuri versus Sareee, Yota Tsuji versus Gabe Kidd for the IWGP Global Heavyweight Championship. Gotta admit, the Syuri match and Sareee match was for the Women's Championship, and Konosuke Takeshita versus Zack Sabre Jr. for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. Our star of the week, Maxine Dupree, Team 3D for getting their retirement match and send off. Mike Santana for becoming your new TNA champion, Syuri becoming your new IWGP Women's Champion, and Konosuke Takeshita, the Alpha, the Ace, becoming your new IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. But that is our show, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Check out the socials, Charismatic Creatures on Facebook and YouTube, Charismatic_Creatures on Instagram, and of course the 215 on Twitter. And as always, I'll see you when I see you. Peace.